the hidden engineering that changed gas stations forever. Imagine it's the year 1913. You're cruising down a dusty road in a brand new Ford Model T. The warm wind hits your face, the streets are wide open, and for the first time in history, people can travel wherever they want. Freedom finally has wheels. But suddenly, your car begins to slow down. You're almost out of fuel. Today, finding gas is easy. You pull into a station, fill up in minutes, and continue your journey. But back then, gas stations didn't even exist. And what happened next would completely change the modern world forever. This is the incredible story of how gas stations were invented, the dangerous problems hidden beneath them, and the brilliant engineering that turned them into one of the safest machines we use every day. Before gas stations existed, most people didn't even own cars. Instead, families mainly used kerosene for lamps and cooking stoves. If someone needed fuel, they would visit a local hardware store. An employee would manually pour kerosene from a large barrel into a metal can. When automobiles first appeared, drivers used the exact same method. They carried cans of fuel, poured it into their vehicles using funnels, and hoped nothing spilled. It was messy, slow, and extremely dangerous. One spark could start a massive fire. As more cars appeared on the streets, it became clear that the world needed a safer way to handle fuel. That's when an inventor named Sylvanus Bowser introduced something revolutionary: the fuel pump. His early design was simple but brilliant. A hand-powered crank pushed fuel through a pipe and out of a nozzle. Every full turn delivered a precise amount of fuel. For the first time, drivers could refill their cars more quickly and with better accuracy. Soon, these pumps began appearing on sidewalks and city streets across America. But there was one major problem. Customers had no idea whether they were actually getting the amount of fuel they paid for. So engineers created a smarter invention called the visible fuel pump. This design included a large glass container mounted above the pump. Fuel would first flow into the glass tank where customers could clearly see the exact amount being measured. Then gravity would pull the fuel down into the car. Simple, transparent, and far more trustworthy. At first, these street pumps worked perfectly because there weren't many cars around. In 1900, the entire United States had only around 8,000 automobiles. But within just a few years, everything changed. Henry Ford's mass production methods made cars affordable for ordinary people, and suddenly millions of drivers filled the roads. Traffic began forming around fuel pumps. Tiny storage tanks ran out constantly. And worst of all, huge amounts of flammable fuel were being stored above ground near crowded streets. The danger was growing fast. So in 1913, a major breakthrough arrived. The Gulf Oil Company opened the world's first true gas station in Pittsburgh. Instead of placing fuel tanks above ground, engineers buried large storage tanks underground where they were safer and protected from heat. Multiple pumps were connected to these tanks, allowing several cars to refuel at the same time. It may sound normal today, but back then, this idea felt futuristic. On its first day, the station sold only a small amount of fuel. But within weeks, drivers from everywhere started arriving. The automobile era had officially begun. Cars gave people something they had never experienced before: freedom. Families could now travel across cities, states, and entire countries whenever they wanted. Road trips became possible. Businesses expanded. Entire towns grew around highways and fuel stations. But while gas stations were transforming the world above ground, a hidden danger was growing underground: gasoline vapor. Unlike kerosene, gasoline evaporates extremely easily. Even at cold temperatures, it releases invisible flammable gases into the air. Inside underground tanks, those vapors slowly collected like a ticking time bomb. Whenever stations refilled their tanks, dangerous vapor clouds escaped into the atmosphere. One tiny spark from static electricity, an engine, or even a cigarette could trigger a deadly explosion. Engineers knew something had to change. And over the next several decades, gas stations evolved through some of the smartest safety engineering ever created. By the 1940s, another big problem appeared: labor costs. Every gas station needed attendants to pump fuel for customers. But station owners wanted to reduce expenses and lower fuel prices. Then in 1947, a man named Frank Ulrich introduced something completely new: the self-service gas station. Instead of workers pumping fuel, customers filled their own cars. This reduced prices dramatically and attracted huge crowds. But many people thought the idea was crazy. Giving ordinary drivers direct access to gasoline sounded extremely dangerous. And honestly, they weren't wrong. Customers often overfilled their tanks, spilling fuel everywhere. Gas stations became hazardous. So engineers developed one of the most important inventions in fuel history: the automatic shut-off nozzle. It's something we use every day without even thinking about it. When you squeeze the fuel handle, gasoline rushes through the nozzle into your car. But hidden inside that metal handle is an incredibly clever mechanical system. As fuel moves through the nozzle, air gets pulled through tiny holes using something called the Venturi effect. While your tank is filling, air flows normally through the system. But once the gasoline level rises high enough to cover the nozzle tip, the airflow suddenly stops. This creates a vacuum inside the nozzle. That vacuum activates a hidden mechanism which instantly releases the handle and shuts off the fuel. No electronics. No computer. Just pure mechanical engineering. And it works amazingly well. But underground tanks still had problems too. Older steel tanks slowly rusted over time, leaking gasoline into nearby soil and groundwater. To solve this, modern stations switched to fiberglass storage tanks. Unlike steel, fiberglass doesn't corrode easily and lasts far longer underground. Modern fuel systems also include advanced vapor recovery systems. When tanker trucks refill underground tanks, gasoline vapor doesn't escape into the atmosphere anymore. Instead, the vapor travels back through a second pipe into the truck itself. Later, the vapor is processed and converted back into usable fuel. This protects both the environment and the people nearby. Modern gas stations are also filled with hidden sensors that constantly monitor fuel levels, pressure changes, leaks, and temperature conditions underground. If something goes wrong, systems can automatically shut down before a disaster happens. Today, gas stations pump billions of gallons of fuel every single day across the world. Most people barely notice them anymore. They've become ordinary. But behind every fuel pump is more than 100 years of engineering, problem-solving, and innovation. From dangerous street-side barrels to ultra-safe underground systems, gas stations quietly helped build the modern world. They powered road trips, connected cities, supported industries, and gave humanity a level of freedom that previous generations could only dream about. And the next time you hear that simple click when your fuel tank becomes full, remember this. That tiny sound is the result of over a century of brilliant engineering hidden inside one small machine. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating engineering videos that reveal the hidden technology shaping our everyday lives.